What's up, y'all? In this video I wanted to talk about the recently added version of the Tiger tank, the Tiger E. To put it simply, at the current battle rating that it's at, 6.0, this tank is over-tiered for what you actually get that the Tiger H1 doesn't have. To start off with, I'm going to talk about the differences between the E and the H1 Tiger, and then I'll go over some comparisons between tanks at the same battle rating, and then I'll kind of wrap everything up at the end. So to start off with, the Tiger E is not terribly different from the Tiger H1. You get 50 extra horsepower in the engine, so you'll accelerate the tank a little bit better. The top speed is the same. The turret rotation is 6.4 degrees per second, about 2.4 degrees slower than the H1, which is about 25-30%-ish slower compared to the H1. The reload rate is 10.8 seconds, which is about 1 second extra over the H1. Not terribly much longer, but enough to matter. The armor has some improvements, but is basically unchanged except for a few areas. The lower glacis has some tracks added, so you'll get around 40 millimeters of extra effective armor. The turret mantelet has some extra armor added as well. On the gunner's viewport, you have about 20 millimeters extra compared to the H1. But probably the most significant addition to the armor over the H1 is the E has a domed commander's cupola instead of a cylindrical one. At the minimum, you get an extra 20 millimeters of armor, and at the maximum, you will just auto bounce rounds off of the top of the cupola. So it does remove one weak point from the previous version of the Tiger. Other than that, it is basically the same tank. All the other armor is the same. The internal layout of the tank is the same. All the crew and modules are in the same place. The big difference between the E and the H1 is that the new Tiger gets APCR. You get 190 millimeters of penetration at 100 meters, 174 at 500, and 155 at 1,000 meters. The APCR this tank gets is pretty comparable to other APCR that tanks before it have. The IS-1 and T-3485 have APCR that is pretty much the same in performance as the Tiger's APCR. What kills the tank is the battle rating that it's at that affects the matchmaking. It's at a 6.0, which means that you will frequently be pulled into 6.7 battle rating matches against IS-2s, T-44s, and Tiger IIs. If we look at the research tree, we can see that tanks of a similar battle rating, the Panthers, and on the Russian side, the IS-2 and ISU-122 and 122S series of tanks, have a main gun that does more damage than the regular rounds on the Tiger E. The IS-2 and the ISU series of tanks have a main gun that does 185 millimeters of penetration at 100 meters. And the Panther series of tank has a main gun that does 158 millimeters of penetration at 100 meters. Keep in mind, the APCR on the Tiger E only has 190 millimeters of penetration at 100 meters. While the Panther gun is not as much of a leap as some of the Russian guns are, the main gun on the Tiger E, firing armor-piercing, high-explosive rounds, is laughably underpowered at the battle rating it's at. The APCR, while it does have decent penetration, 5 millimeters more than the 122 millimeter guns on the IS-2 and ISU series tanks does far less damage than the guns on those tanks. The Panther main gun does 40 millimeters-ish less penetration than the APCR on the Tiger E, but the armor-piercing high explosive shells have much more penetration, almost 30 millimeters more, than the armor-piercing high explosive on the Tiger E. Simply put, the main addition to the tank, and what probably gave it the 6.0 battle rating over the 5.7 battle rating of the Tiger H1, the APCR does not scale well against the enemies that you'll be fighting against at the 6.0 battle rating, not even mentioning what you'll be fighting at 6.7. The armor of the tank, while good at the 5.7 battle rating when you're playing the H1, is just paper thin if you play at 6.0 or even 6.7, which you probably will be doing. In my own experience, I've seen Tiger E's in 5.7 and 6.7 battle rating matches. They do just as well as the regular Tiger on the lower end of their matchmaking, but for the most part, I see them in 6.7 matches and they just get blown to pieces, just like you would in a regular Tiger. For the life of me, I don't know why they put the tank at a 6.0 battle rating. My only guess is it was a knee-jerk reaction to people complaining that the tank got APCR and didn't get a battle rating increase for the extra penetration that the gun can now do. Which is fairly hypocritical considering the IS-1 didn't used to have APCR and yet is the same battle rating. What all of this basically means is that at its current battle rating, the Tiger E is not worth researching. The only reason I would suggest you research this tank is if you absolutely want to have it, or if you've researched everything else and are just trying to fill in the gaps in your research tree. If you're going up the research tree to the Tiger 2s from the Tiger H1, you should ignore this tank and just research the Tiger 2s, or any other tank but this one. Even the Panthers are more useful than the Tiger E. So that about wraps it up for this video. I just wanted to put a video out there about the Tiger E, what's different, and if it's even bother worth researching. If you liked the video, feel I left something out or got something wrong, feel free to leave a comment. It helps me make a better video. And if you want to keep updated when new videos do come out, feel free to subscribe to the channel, and I will see y'all next time.